How the Beatles made the first ever hidden track. According to Far Out magazine, if there was some sort of intergalactic version of Family Fortunes and every living thing in the universe was asked to name an album, the first title to spring into many people's mind would be Abbey Road. Love it or loathe it, it is a defining feature in the unfurling tapestry of popular culture. As such, it also underpins the legacy of the Beatles themselves. Even the doubters and disparagers of the band cannot deny the impact that they had on art, and if they do, then they simply can't grasp the context. At a time when scientific progress boomed, the Fab Four ushered it into art in such a way that changed the medium forever. Stereo sound had only been invented a handful of years earlier, and yet, with the help of producer George Martin, they were twisting into songs like mad scientists achieving creative alchemy. If Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was the epochal moment of invention, Abbey Road saw them honing and refining their artistic science, the culmination of which was the famed medley the 8-part sonic journey wraps up in The End, and the famed lyric that still remains a little nonsensical to this particular writer, "The love you take is equal to the love you make." However, as any keen-eyed fan will tell you, the end merely marks 13 seconds of silence. Thereafter comes Her Majesty, surely one of, if not the finest piece of pop music under 30 seconds ever. Its sweet and lullaby-like sound makes it a befitting way to say goodnight for the band on what was the last record they ever recorded, albeit was released before Let It Be. However, neither the silence nor the placement of Her Majesty was ever intended, and yet it weirdly sparked a hidden track craze that endures to this day. Originally, Her Majesty was simply meant to reside between the melody sections of Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam, but it sounded rather jarring amid the changing time structures and chordal progressions. Thus Paul McCartney asked sound engineer John Kurlander to remove it from the running order and destroy the tape. As it happens, EMI has a policy not to destroy any Beatles tapes. Instead, Kurlander spliced it on the end of the record as a temporary storage method of the master track. As he recalls, I picked it up off the floor, put about 20 seconds of red leader tape and stuck it onto the end of the edit tape. The next day, down at Apple, Malcolm Davis cut a playback lacquer of the whole sequence, and even though I'd written on the box that Her Majesty was unwanted, he too thought, well, mustn't throw anything away, I'll put it on the end. Flash forward to a run through the medley sometimes later when the track finished and the band discussed the pros and cons, and then within 13 seconds they were interrupted by the resonant first chord of Her Majesty. As Kurlander adds, "I'm only assuming this, but when Paul got the lacquer, he must have liked hearing Her Majesty tacked on the end. We never remixed Her Majesty again. There was the mix which ended up with the finished LP, and this is why Her Majesty doesn't have a final guitar chord. It lays unheard at the beginning of Polythene Pam, and the jarring electric chord that begins on Her Majesty is actually the end of the original Mean Mr. Mustard." The band loved the jolt it offered as a finale and kept it in place. However, the sleeves for the record had already gone to print, thus when fans snatched a copy of the album, they were greeted with the same surprise, and suddenly the hidden track was spawned. The rest, they say, is ancient history.